Hi everyone, and welcome to Club Deck Corner here at Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. We are live on YouTube tonight, so as always, get your comments in. We'll do our best maybe to answer a couple of questions. We did try and do it last Friday, but ran out of time talking about the pressure most of the podcast. But get your comments in, and we will do our best. So there's not a full house, unlike it was on Friday. It is me and Scotia tonight, the B team. Scotia, how are you this fine Tuesday night?
Evening, Ali. Evening, everyone. Yes, doing slightly better after the somewhat decent performance at the weekend. I know we'll go on to discuss in a bit more detail that, and more importantly, the result. Yeah, good to be back. I think this is my first Club Deck Corner since I came back to the podcast.
Is it? No, so it is. So it is. I've not done many Club Deck Corners since the beginning of the season. I don't even know how many Club Deck Corners we've done. I think Carney did one with Stevie or something, I'm sure. But yeah, it's me and Scotia tonight. As I say, it's the B team, so get your questions and we'll do our best. But we'll start, Scotia. Obviously, we talked on Friday night. It was very negative, I would say. Before we get into the game, obviously there was the protest at 4:30. Me and yourself were not there at 4:30. We were in the pub at that point at 4:30. So we were not at the protest. There was a protest at the front door. Andrew Kavanagh was in the ground as well for the game. Obviously, the Union Bears made their presence known. Stopped the game 20 minutes in. Scotia throwing tennis balls or whatever it was onto the park. I'll be honest, maybe it's the age I am. I don't like that. It kind of interrupts the flow of the game. But they're entitled to protest. But personally, I don't like that. But again, I've got no major grumbles. What was your thoughts on the protest at the start of the game? Obviously, we didn't see it as we weren't there. As I say, we were in the pub at the time. But what was your thoughts on the protest and obviously the Union Bears flinging balls onto the park after 20 minutes?
Yeah, the protest was just before the game. Yep, completely fine with that. I'm sort of similar to yourself. It's probably not something that I would ever go along to. There would need to be some stuff seriously bad for me to probably go along to that. It's just not the type of person I am. But I've got no issue with those type of protests being held because, I mean, you say the podcast was negative on Friday. It was negative, but it's negative because it was the truth of kind of where we're sitting at and how we're feeling. So the protest before the game, get no issue with at all. I've seen some videos from it and read about some comments from other people, some commentary from other people. Completely fine with that. It's the way it should be done. But like yourself, during the middle of the game, that I'm less inclined to kind of get on board with. Because in particular, on the game there, I thought when those balls came onto the pitch in 10 minutes, I think it was 10 minutes it came in, not 20. 10 minutes in, I thought it kind of disrupted our flow and it allowed Hibs a chance to kind of reset and get back into the game or get into the game. It would have been interesting to see how it would have panned out had it not happened. It's something I'd prefer not to see at the game, like during the game, stop and play and things like that. But as I say, no issues with protests beforehand, protests afterwards, protests by singing from the stands, no issues with that. Actually throwing stuff onto the pitch to interrupt the game, probably not the best way to go about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we discussed coming down the road or at the game at the time that we remembered a similar protest a few years ago, and they threw stuff on the park and it actually ruined the way we were playing at the time. So it was deja vu in terms of that. But like we say, they're entitled to protest, but maybe it is the age we are, Gemmell. But it's not for me flagging stuff on the park, but fair enough. But before we went to the game on Saturday, obviously it was a later kickoff. Dundee were playing Livingston, and there was a sarcastic cheer in the pub when Livingston drew 2 each because it meant we'd still stay 10th. And then obviously Dundee got a 97th minute penalty to leave us 11th in the league going to the game on Saturday, Scotia, with a chance of maybe being bottom of the league. I think Aberdeen play tonight or tomorrow, I think. Tonight. So we potentially could go bottom of the
Pretty
league.
sure it's tonight they're playing, yeah.
I'm sure it's tonight or tomorrow. I'm sure Dundee United they play, but there is a chance Rangers bottom of the league before we play Livingston on Sunday, which is a frightening start. If somebody told you that at the beginning of the season, but as went up to Ibrox Scotia, the team lineup was announced. Obviously, we were in the pub when it came out. The starting lineup was Butland. We all said Liam Kelly would start because he was in the presser, but Butland was there. Tav, Suter, Cornelius, Magoma, Nico Raskin back in the team, which was good to see. Diomande, Asgard just in front. Gassama or Gassam. I have seen on Twitter tonight he did say Gassama in some interview thing today, so we'll go with Gassama again. Mikey Moore, who I'll come on to, and Miofsky through the middle. What was your thoughts on the starting lineup, Scotia?
In the back line, not really surprised to see Butland in there. I think I did mention in the pod on Friday night, although Kelly was at the press conference, we don't kind of know how Russell Martin's going to be approaching cup games in terms of things with his keeper. And I've also got a sneaky suspicion right now that Russell Martin's kind of looking at, he needs to get a consistency in the team in terms of not moving too many players about all the time and get a settled sort of team together, get points on the board before he maybe starts doing that again. So bringing Butland in kind of made sense to me because going forward, I think more often than not, that's probably the back five that you're going to be seeing starting games for us. I will probably be proven wrong with that when Thursday comes along, but that's just the kind of impression that I get. Obviously, the big talking point was Raskin coming back into the starting lineup. I think the majority. Did Ross end up opting for Raskin starting as well? I know he had a.
He said he said he wouldn't be surprised if Russell Martin put him on the bench and brought him on to prove a point.
Yeah,
and I think we all said that he had to start Raskin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he did start. He needs to start. He's our best midfielder. Needs to start. And we need to be using him. We can't have a player of his caliber sitting on the bench, particularly when we're in this situation like you were talking about there. We're currently sitting 11th in the league table, which is shocking. You know, it puts a damper on even getting through to the semi-final, kind of, because it's just, I can't remember the last time Rangers were 6-7 games into the season and sitting in that position. Even in our worst teams, I can't remember that happening. So Raskin, definitely good to see him in. The other midfielders there, yeah, get no disagreement there. I kind of was thinking maybe Barron in, but my reasoning behind Barron was probably more to do so with what I'd seen the Rangers midfield up until that point. He'd been a bit lightweight. Games getting overrun in midfield and having someone else in there with a bit more dig. But Diamande played well enough. And then top three, Moore's the only surprise there for me, really. I didn't expect to see him start. Given the way that I didn't see the Hearts game, but given the way you and Carney were talking about his performance against Hearts, I'm surprised to see him starting there. And I don't know if you're going to come on and speak about Moore later, but there's some stuff that so I won't get into it there. We can speak about Moore later then, because there's some concerns I've got about him at the minute, or not him, but per se, but what's happening in that position and with that type of player.
Yeah. After we kind of discuss the game a wee bit, we'll probably pick up a few players in terms of maybe players that stood out, maybe players that didn't do as well as potentially could have done. So, yeah, I mean, I thought Rangers started all right in the game. Obviously, Tommy came along as well for his sins to watch Rangers. The attendance as well, Scotia. What we thought, don't know, half full maybe. Difficult to see because we're in a club deck and we can't see what's below us. But the Broomlow and Copeland and Govan were about half full, pretty much is what we thought. Rangers started all right, I thought. Raskin made a huge difference in the middle of the park for me. And Hibs, they were all right, Hibs. And then obviously they scored in the first 20, 30 minutes where it was a ball through the middle of us. Martin Boyle latched onto it and put a kind of trickled past sort of Jack Butland into the goal at that point. You got to hear the chants of Martin get to France at that point, which you were waiting for. Tommy did say when he went, no, it's a handball. I didn't really see it at the time. I think you were the same as me. It went to VAR. They had to get this right because of the Shankland one the week before. It wasn't as obvious, I don't think, as the Shankland one this one, but it was a handball. It was ruled out for VAR, and Rangers go out of jail in that one. But what was your thoughts on that, Scotia? Because we're cut open far too easy by teams. Hearts did it last week. Hibs, I know it's ruled off, but Hibs get through quite easily, and it's something we'll need to watch going forward.
Yeah, like I'd mentioned earlier, I thought Rangers restarted really well up until the interruption with things coming onto the pitch.
Yeah.
And it was after that I thought Hibs started to impose themselves on the game a bit more. Didn't see the handball, but I was more annoyed with what was happening defensively, to be looking out for the handball there. Like you say, getting cut open too easily with that big long ball over the top that we're not really being able to deal with right now. And if you remember as well, Hibs cut us wide open just before they scored. I think it was the right back Mulligan came flying forward, plays in Bowie, and then Boyle has an effort that, again, defensively, that was slightly different. It was just, but we've seen it again previously this season from Rangers in terms of just a ball splitting the centre backs in half and exposing us. So those are pretty big, some issues that I've got with the team still. There's still room for improvement there in terms of what we can do, because better teams than Hibs will have a field day with that if we can't get it rectified quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think teams can have a bit of joy. There are two centre halves in particular, but yeah. But after that, I thought Rangers were decent the first half. I thought they huffed and puffed a wee bit, but they kept going. Raskin was the driving force for me in the middle of the park. We'll come on to players. Mikey Moore for me I thought he was poor, really poor. I don't think he offered anything. But Raskin was the one guy. And near the end of the first half, Scotia, we get a corner kick. Tavernier steps up. I think we've seen this goal about 3 or 4 times with Rangers, with a Raskin combination, a very similar goal we've seen last season, but it had to be Raskin. The wee guy leaped for him and bulleted a header into the back of the net, Scotia. I think we talked at the game. He's very similar to the size of him. Stephen Naismith all those years back. I know a lot of people want to hear his name, but very similar in terms of in the air, but he's a threat at set pieces, Raskin, and he had to score, didn't he?
Yeah, it was kind of, the writing was there for him. It was perfect in terms of coming back into the team and kind of getting the first goal to put us in front. Kind of gives it a wee bit like, what have you been messing about for? This is what you should have been doing from the start. To Martin, kind of feel to it. But it was a great wee goal from him. And like you say, yeah, we have seen that before. I think against Celtic had done it, and did they not do it against USG last season? I want to say.
It's done a few times.
It was. Yeah, so it's obviously something that he's worked at on the training ground, and with the delivery that I sometimes bemoan. I think we all do bemoan Tav's deliveries from corners at times because it feels that they aren't great. But I do still think that for something like that, because it usually does, if he hits a poor free kick in, or pure corner, should I say, sorry, and it's always sort of going to the first man. So the fact that Raskin's running into that position, kind of get there, it's excellent. And the keeper's got no chance from something like that, because all he's doing is just deflecting the pace of the ball into the keeper, and the keeper he's got no time to react to do anything. So a brilliant wee goal by Raskin, and really glad that it was him.
Yeah, no, and I think the Rangers support enjoyed it as well, because the Nico Raskin song was in full voice for the fans that were in the stadium, and it was good to see him. I think he was there to try and prove a point, maybe to Russell Martin, that he is he's our best midfielder. He is, and you could see that on Saturday. I thought he was levels above at times. And I've got to play him. They've got to, whatever the disagreement is between the two of them, they've got to try and put it to the side. For the sake of Rangers and for the sake of us trying to win football games and getting back into this bloody league, Nico Raskin has to start. And he made a big difference, a real big difference for us against Hibs. But after that, Scotia literally just injury time of the first half again. We work a ball on the right-hand side. I think it comes through to, I think it's Mikey Moore actually, and he pulls it back. And there was Miovski to flick the ball into the back of the net, Scotia. It was good to see Miovski get his first goal for Rangers. He grabbed the Rangers crest as well, which will probably upset the Aberdeen fans too. But good to see Miovski getting off the mark. I thought he was unlucky with other chances as well. Obviously, get one ruled off or offside the second half too. But I like Miovski. I think he'll score goals for Rangers if he gets the service. Scotia, I think he'll score goals, and it's good. It was good to see him finally go off the mark.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement. The fact that he's now off the mark's pretty important because we know what it's like when a striker comes in. The longer they go without scoring, more pressure they get, and then the worse feeling you get. And just to get that monkey off the back, to get a goal, because we've seen Miovski play in Scotland before. We know he can score goals up here. And what it's all about for us is getting him the service. That's something that we started to do in the second half, I felt, but there's still massive room for improvement there in terms of getting the type of service that Miovski can thrive off of, because I'm similar to yourself. I think he'll score a barrel load if we can provide that service to him. Yeah,
and obviously we all meet in the concourse at half time, and we were actually in a decent mood for once at Ibrox. It was 2-0 to Rangers. Disappointed in Hibs, I'll be honest, Scotia. I thought they would have offered more, especially after watching Hearts last week, but they weren't overly great, Hibs, to be honest. But then again, I thought Rangers were decent. And yeah, the only thing I thought of for the second half was to go out and just kill the game and get the third. But 2-0 at half time, there was no grumbles, was there?
No grumbles from me. Grumble's the wrong word. I still had concerns, and I still.
It wasn't faultless or anything. But,
no. I'm not sitting here saying that was a brilliant performance. Yeah. And my mind's changed because I know I've seen a message right at the start from, was it David Craig, had asked you about what's the thoughts on Martin. And he wants him gone. My thoughts on Martin haven't really changed.
No, he needs to go on a run. One game doesn't. Yeah, it's a start.
Yeah, it's a start. And I think something that I said to you and Carney after the game in the pub was that, see if we'd seen this performance. I think it was it better than Pilsen? It was on a level, on a par with the Pilsen game. I felt this performance. But seeing if I'd seen this in the league or domestically earlier in the season, I'm walking away from that game going like, right, I can see what we're going to be trying to be doing, but there's still these areas for improvement. The problem we've got is we're so many games into the season that we're only now just seeing that. That's my issue, but I'm still looking at it as like, right, I can see what we're trying to do. Can we carry on with this? And certainly up until the next international break, I'm expecting us to get 6 points in the league and 6 points in Europe as a minimum. Really, for me, that's really where I'm at.
Yeah, it doesn't change it for me. He needs to go on a major run of winning games. But it was a start. As a fan going there, you don't want to go there every week and watch Rangers drop points all the time. I know some folk might say, oh, maybe like that in terms of if it gets rid of the manager potentially, but we're in the Cup for a chance to get the semi-final Cup. You want to win the game. I thought it was routine for Rangers. In the second half, Scotia, I thought Rangers came out. I thought they look a bit more relaxed. They're 2-0 up. They were starting to play a bit more. Like I said, Hibs offered literally nothing in the second half. He made quite a lot of changes. Connor Barron came on. Ant-Man, Chermiti, young Finlay Curtis and Barami probably got the last couple of minutes on the park. But they were unlucky in the second half, Rangers. They probably could have won the game maybe 3 or 4-0. Like I say, there was the Miovski offside. Chermiti had a one-on-one, hit it off the goalkeeper. There was quite a few chances. But overall, the second half, I thought Rangers were really good the second half. I thought they were bright. Whether it's because they were 2-0 up and they didn't have the fear of Ibrox on top of them, if you know what I mean. They could play with a bit more confidence, but they look like a different team in the second half, Rangers. And like I say, we've been very negative in this podcast towards this team and towards Russell Martin, but you've got to give them credit in terms of the game on Saturday. I thought for a cup game, I thought they played well, and I thought the second half, I thought it was a good performance for Rangers. What was your thoughts overall before we discuss a couple of individual players?
Yeah, in the second half, I thought we were controlled the game really. This is where I was probably more disappointed. Well, disappointed is not the right way to say that. I thought Hibs would offer a lot more in that second half, given that it's a cup game. Given that it was a cup game and things like that, and I just thought we kind of bossed the game. I thought we were a lot more fluid than I've seen us. Although again, I'm not saying it's the finished article by any stretch of the imagination. A lot more fluid. Starting to create a wee bit more chances going forward, I felt. I remember you've mentioned the Chermiti chance there. I turned to you, I think, when that went in and went, imagine that was Dessers. People would be going off their rocker if that was Dessers with that one. But the boy wasn't that long on the pitch. Probably should have done slightly better. We probably should have finished the game with a greater scoreline than the 2 it was. So that's maybe a wee bit of a niggly disappointment I've got from it, but overall, quite pleased with it. You can't complain when you're walking away with a victory. It's, as I said, decent-ish performance, and a clean sheet and things like that. So it was all in all, it was a decent evening for us.
Yeah, I thought it was decently said that ultimately the aim of the game of the cup is to get into the next round, and Rangers have done it. They're into the semi-final. Notable players we'll talk about. I know a lot of folk like a bit of negativity in the podcast, so I'll bring a wee bit of negativity here, Scotia. And I've seen folk in Twitter. I've seen Andy McGowan actually having a go at folk, having a go at Mikey Moore, in terms of how he played in Saturday, in terms of how we're going to use him going forward. But for me, I've seen Mikey Moore against Celtic. I've seen him against Hearts. I don't think he wanted a start after the Hearts game to play against Hibs. I thought he was bullied against Hearts. Difficult. The boy's only just turned 18, and you don't want to slaughter young players, but he's come up here as and I hate the wonder kid tag that you get, Scotia, but he's come up here as a potential big player for Tottenham in the future. He's come up to learn his trade at Rangers in Scotland. The hammer throwers up here. He really struggled against Hearts for me, Scotia. I know you weren't there, but they bullied him. And again, against Hibs, I thought he struggled big time. I know at times he came inside and he kind of freed players up, but I'm just looking. The only positive was Gassama was put on the left where he's better. But Mikey Moore on the right-hand side, for me, he just doesn't offer enough, Scotia. Everything for us was coming down where Gassama was. And I thought Gassama would come on to Gassama. I thought he was very good. But Moore on the right-hand side, for me, offers nothing. Ant-Man come on for the last 15 minutes. I thought he offered more than that 50 minutes. And I know Hibs are tired. It's a different game at that point. But there was one run that Ant-Man did where he dribbled into the box and nearly scored. It would have been a fantastic goal. But whether Mikey Moore has something in his contract that he has to play X amount of games with Rangers, I don't know. But I think we have better options. I want to see Ant-Man. We've bought Ant-Man when he first came onto the scene against Pilsen. I thought he was outstanding. He was outstanding that night. He's kind of went backwards, but we need to see him. But the young boy Curtis, for me, he's a Rangers player. He's come through the youth team. I think he offers more than Mikey Moore, and I think he warrants a start over Mikey Moore. But as I say, Scotia, Tottenham aren't sending Mikey Moore up here to sit on our bench, basically. So I'd assume there's some sort of clause where he has to play X amount of games. But what's your thoughts on Mikey Moore? Obviously, you didn't see him against Hearts. You've seen him on Saturday, but what's your thoughts on Mikey Moore? And obviously, the two guys I mentioned that I would play above him.
Yeah, so on the game at the weekend, I don't think he had a terrible game at the weekend by any stretch.
Very terrible, but I just don't think he offered much.
Yeah, but there was, like you say, it was all down our left-hand side that it was coming. But maybe that's intentional in terms of the sort of personnel that we've got in those positions. So yeah, it wasn't great. But on to the two other players, this is my biggest issue with Mikey Moore, is that he's playing and he's keeping Ant-Man and Curtis out of the team when he's playing. Now, if Mikey Moore was coming up here and ripping it apart and he was brilliant, then I wouldn't really have an issue with it, because if he's doing that, then it's likely contributing to us scoring goals and us winning games. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And the issue, it's why are we developing a player that's not our own when we've got? I'm going to focus on Finlay Curtis here because they're both kind of similar ages. Curtis is sitting there, and this is this sort of game that you would want to bring Curtis in and play. And the amount of times that you see young players for us leave because they're not getting enough game time. Some of that's because they're probably not good enough to be playing for us. But some of that I feel that we've been given opportunities to others that perhaps don't deserve it, because similar things that for me happened going back to under Gerrard, under Gio, that there was these players that were brought in that were playing in front of players that I would perhaps have preferred to have seen. Yes, they might not have been quite as good at the moment, but we develop them. They're our own players, and it's either good for us because they become a better player to play for the team, or we can sell them on for a decent profit. Finlay Curtis, every game he's played this season, I thought he's had a pretty decent game, and he's contributed by scoring goals as well. So if I'm Finlay, I've seen someone in the comments said it as well. If I'm Finlay Curtis, I'm kind of sitting there a bit raging, going, what do I have to do to get into this team? So yeah, for me, I would be playing Curtis over him, because at the minute Mikey Moore is not ripping things up to keep players out of the team that I would be content with.
Yeah, and Finlay Curtis doesn't want to be coming on for 5 minutes at Ibrox end of a game, because he's not going to get any benefit from that. I did say Juicy Bear Gaming said Moore isn't a winger; he's more of a number 10. I could kind of see him there. He's when you look at Mikey Moore, he kind of sits more inside. He doesn't really hug the touchline that much. Whether that is a ploy, Scotia, in terms of our tactics, I don't know. But Tommy made a point when we were at the game on Saturday, saying we should be playing our best wingers in terms of Gassama and Ant-Man, and Mikey Moore and Curtis would be good options coming off the bench for the last 20 minutes when these teams are tiring. Bring them on. I kind of agreed, especially with Mikey Moore. I thought it'd be a good option to bring on. So it'll be interesting going forward on that right side, because Ant-Man, for me, we've spent good money in Ant-Man, especially. I really want to see him there. He got a lot of assists as well in Holland too, so I'd really like to see him there. And again with Finlay Curtis, because Finlay Curtis isn't going to get games. He's not going to benefit at all. He's just well going to load.
Here's the thing, though, as well, Ali. We're getting. I mean, we're going to come on to speak about it later on in the pod, but we're getting to that time of the season where it's Thursday, Sunday. So
yeah, you'll need to rotate them.
You know what Tommy says. There will need to be a wee bit of rotation, and that's kind of those are kind of the areas that I would see the most rotation potentially happening in terms of keeping it fresh.
Yeah, no, definitely, because there's a lot of games coming up. December as well, dreaded December. There's God knows how many games in December as well, and obviously there's no winter break this year again, so there'll be a lot of games coming up. So we will need to rotate a lot of these players, but yeah, that was a Hearts game. But any standouts for you, Scotia, out of players? Obviously, Raskin get man of the match. I thought he was very good. Raskin. Gassama for me is a danger. I like Gassama on the left-hand side. And also thought Magoma is quietly going about his business on that left-hand side. Scotia, I know you're a Borna Barisic fan and you were out in Croatia last week trying to find him to bring him back. But I think he's actually on a free Borna Barisic. I think he's looking for a club at the moment. But Magoma, for me, is quietly going about his business at the moment. And I think he'll be a good player for us this year. I don't know what your kind of positives were out of that game in terms of players.
Yeah, I know the ones you mentioned there, Raskin and Gassama, were probably the two standouts for me. But like yourself, Magoma is probably the one I would like to speak about a wee bit more because, yeah, I was quite impressed with him on Saturday there, sorry. And what I've liked about Magoma is since he's come into the team, I've seen improvement from on him game to game that I've seen. Obviously, I can't speak personally to the Hearts game because I've not even watched the highlights of that yet at all. So I thought he's definitely shown improvements, and that's all you can kind of look for when you've got players in there. The disappointing thing is, yes, he's not one of our own players. I don't. It's not an option to buy, is it? It's just a loan.
No, he's for Brent. He's came from Brentford, and I think they rate him quite highly. So I doubt he'll be there next season.
Yeah. So I thought he had a good one. I thought Cornelius was okay, played all right, and grew both him and Suter kind of grew into the game. Although they did have right after Hibs had a wee fuck about at the back. We done it about 5-10 minutes later. We done almost the exact same thing as them. But I think it's important to get that a kind of central defensive partnership kind of growing there. So I thought Cornelius had quite an okay game as well. But there was definitely signs of improvement for me overall, which is what we need. But unfortunately, I know a couple of people have said in the comments, we're kind of, is it too late? Is the horse already bolted?
Yeah, all he can do is win games of football with Slimart at the moment and hopefully start to show some sort of style of play. He has to, but as I say, he has to go on a run for me, Scotia. He's got to win. I mean, the Europa League's a sideshow for me, but there's a lot of games in the Europa League we should be winning regardless. But in terms of the league, he's got to win every game in the league.
I think these next four games are a minimum of wins in all of them. That's what I would be looking for. And I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think that's asking for too much because we'll come on to speak about the Genk game on Thursday, and then we've got Sturm Graz away after that, don't we? Is that the following week or the week after?
Yeah, and in the league we're away at Livingston and away at Falkirk. So he's got to win the games. He's got to win. But I say he's got to go on a run, and he's got to win that League Cup as well, Scotia. That's the League Cup's the least thing out of the three you want to win. But at the moment, we're not winning trophies, so we can't turn our nose up at the League Cup. So he's got to win that League Cup as well. If he can win that and then go on a run, you never know. But I'm yet to be convinced. Like I'm saying, I'm one game at a time for me. But obviously, Rangers have made it into the semi-finals of the League Cup. Scotia, the draw was after the Celtic game after they played Partick Thistle. So we were drawn against them. The other tie was St Mirren and Motherwell, was it? Another semi-final. To be played the weekend of the 1st and 2nd of November. Guaranteed. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. I don't think it has, but we will be the 2nd of November because it's Sunday. So we will be playing Celtic at Hampden, Scotia. We did talk off camera before we came on. Because of the pyros last year, they were obviously warned that if that happened again, the next time they went to Hampden, there would be 500 less fans in the ground for clubs that did it. Celtic did it, and we did it again. So there will be 500 less fans not in Hampden, Scotia, for the semi-final, which is disappointing, to be honest, because, let's be honest, the allocation for Hampden for both sets, when it's an old firm, is crap. Because there's about 10,000 that goes to hospitality straight away, which I don't agree with. And you get round about 20,000 each probably that go to Joe Blogs. So there's 500 less then. Obviously, the My Year's tears will come out for it, Scotia, in terms of where we're all going to be. But what's your thoughts on that semi-final? It's not going to be it's not that far away when you think about it. And obviously the ticket scenario in terms of there's going to be 500 less of each support in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, 1st or 2nd of November. I know you were saying that you're guaranteeing it'll be the Sunday there, but we're both playing in Europe on the following Thursday. I think we're at home to Roma the following Thursday, and Celtic are playing Midtjylland as well. So whether that has any bearing in maybe getting it played the day earlier, I'm not sure. Aye. But the problem is it's that Saturday's usually a later kickoff, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's usually like a 5:30 kind of kickoff. So if it's that, then that will happen. Guarantee that. But no, at that stage of the competition, you take who you get. You need to beat all the teams to win it. So it didn't matter when we were playing Celtic. So looking forward to it when it comes around. But in terms of the allocations, yeah, I mean, the discussion around Pyro is a whole pod in and of itself. We keep getting told these things will happen, and then we do it again, and then it happens. So you can't complain too much, but it's a bit disappointing. But yeah, just hopefully it doesn't do me out a ticket. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when the majors tiers come up, which I assume probably quite soon. In terms of, I know we're quite high in silver, Scotia, so I'd like to think we'll still get a ticket to go back to bloody dreaded Hampden, which I hate. But we're due a bit of luck against Celtic at Hampden. We've been done against them at Hampden a few times, so we're due something against them at Hampden. So it'll be interesting. But like you say, if you want to win it, you need to beat them. So be an interesting game. I don't think both teams are great at the moment. I know we're awful in terms of league form, but Celtic aren't overly great either, to be honest. So, in the last Old Firm that was at Ibrox was probably one of the worst Old Firms I've seen in years. So, it'll be interesting what the League Cup semi-final is going to bring. But yeah, near the time we'll discuss it. But obviously, St Mirren and Motherwell have got a chance to get to a major final as well. So, yeah, they'll be looking at that too, but we will see what happens. But yes, we have a game to preview on Thursday, Scotia. Genk come to Ibrox on Thursday night, 8:00 kickoff under the floodlights at Ibrox. We had a wee look at Genk before we come on to see where they are. They're doing as well as we are in the league at the moment. They're bottom or something, Scotia, in their league at the moment. Not doing overly well. Obviously, they get beat off of USG 2-1 at the weekend, who are sitting top of the league over there. But I'll be honest, Scotia, I know absolutely hee-haw about Genk. The only thing I remember about Genk is, which I was telling you off camera, is I remember Soccer AM off 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, when they were playing Chelsea, and it was all aboard the Genk bus back then. I don't know if anyone folks in the comments remember that, but that's what I remember of Genk. At Ibrox, Scotia, I've not looked at the odds setting, but Rangers should be beating Genk at Ibrox. And I know you've just rounded off the terms of these games come up. Rangers need to win every single game of them. I agree with you. Genk, it's not a glamour tie at Ibrox. It'll be interesting to see how many people appear at Ibrox tomorrow. The ticket sales haven't been great for it. I think they've priced it on the pricey side for us. I know Celtic fans are only paying £35 a ticket. We are at least 42 up to 47, I think, in terms of the way the tiers work. So I think it's quite expensive for people to go the way we're playing. It'll be interesting, but what's your thoughts for Thursday night, Scotia? Genk Company Ibrox. We've got to beat them and get 3 points on the board, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I think Genk were one of the top 4 teams, weren't they, in the draw? I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure they were one of the top 4 teams. So this top 4 team at home should be a game that you're taking maximum points from, and certainly need to take maximum points from it if we want to progress further in Europe this season. I have not seen, like yourself, not seen any of Genk. All I've looked at is where they're sitting in the league, and read wee bits and pieces that say that I think there was the issues that Genk have got are very similar to the issues that Rangers have got. It's seen a lot at the back and not creating many chances up front. So I think Genk will potentially be looking at it and fancy their chances as well. Or will they have it in the back of their minds that this is a Rangers team that's been very, very good in Europe over the last 4, 5, 6 seasons? Need to wait and see, but I'm like you. This is a game we should be taking 3 points from. Nothing else matters. 3 points from this needs to be the minimum for me.
Yeah. And what's your thoughts on Europa League this season, Scotia? For me, Europa League, it's a bit of a sideshow, but then sometimes I actually quite enjoy it at times because it takes you away from the reality of where we are in the league in terms of the last few seasons. We've not done well in the league. We've done well in Europe. The ticket sales have been poor this season, whether it's because the start of the season is bloody terrible. Is it because the games that are at Ibrox in terms of teams we've been drawn against aren't as glamorous as previous years in terms of who we're playing? I think Roma's the only real big name come to Ibrox. Obviously, we've got Porto away, but the teams come to Ibrox aren't as glamorous as you want to say. What's your thoughts on Europa League this year, Scotia? I mean, looking at who we've got, we should be progressing to the next round of the Europa League. You'd like to think we could potentially finish, and folk might laugh because we are in the league domestically, but we've got to be aiming for potentially, like we did last season, top 8 potentially within that Europa League.
Yeah, so I mean, where I am with it is I'd kind of conceded myself at the start of the season that Europe might be slightly different this year than it has been in years gone past in the recent history. That's what I'd kind of set my stall out for. And then the start of the season domestically happened for us. And then the draw get made for us. And I seen that draw and I went, any other year, Rangers, that's a top 8 finish easily. And I'm not being arrogant about that. I think that's where we were in terms of a team. Now I'm kind of where the way we are playing and stuff is top 8 just a bit of a push too far, possibly. But we should definitely still be getting through into the latter stages. I suspect, and I always look forward to European games. I'm like you. The league is the priority. It needs to be won. But I do enjoy Europe as well, and I enjoy progressing quite far in Europe as well. I think it's something that up until the last 5-6 years I've not really been able to see us do. Apart from that 2 seasons with Walter, but I was a wee bit too young for the first one. But apart from that, it's been dismal in Europe. So I've really enjoyed the last 6 or so years. I'm sure it's the same as everyone. So yeah, I'm greedy. I'd like us to do well and everything. So if that's maybe asking for too much, I don't know. Probably is.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the Europa League because you can actually compete in it. I know the finances obviously aren't as good as Champions League, but in terms of competing, we've shown over the last 3, 4, 5 years that we can compete at this level. And obviously, only a few years ago, we got to the final of it. But I think that regardless of where we are at the moment, I think we've got decent players there. And Europe's completely different in teams you play in there. Potentially may suit Rangers, you don't know. But I'd like to think we could get through the next, or through the league format into the knockout stage, wherever it is, after the Porto game. And I know we're obviously looking at. I know you've booked to go to Porto, Scotia, and I will be booking to go to Porto as well. But it would be good that if we could go into that game, the last game of the league format, still playing for something in terms of maybe top 8 or something. But I think Rangers should be looking at this going, we can get through and keep going in Europe because there's potential there for Rangers, and we've shown it within the last few years. So yes, it'll be interesting Thursday night. Like I say, under the lights, Europa League theme tune. Haymarch usually puts the tune into the group chat on the Thursday as well, which is usually good to hear. But I look forward to get back to Ibrox on Thursday night for Europa League. It's just disappointing in terms of the fans that aren't going to be there. But I understand why some fans aren't going to be there. I mean, I had one of the titles come into work today, and I said, Chris, I've not seen you at Ibrox. And he went, I'm not going back till Russell Martin's been removed. And I says, well, you won't be back at Ibrox for a while then, I don't think, because I don't think he's going to be removed soon. So, yes, it'll be interesting Thursday night because I don't think it'll have the same feeling as previous seasons because when we've kicked off Europa League campaigns, there's been a right buzz going to Ibrox, and I don't think it'll be there on Thursday night. But I would like to see a decent performance for Rangers. So, talking about Scotia, I don't know if you've done your team, what you think it's going to be for Thursday night, but I will ask for your team, your score, and your first goal scorer if you have one.
Right, so my team is Butland in goals. To have it right back, Rutter, Cornelius, and Magoma. Although I do have a sneaky suspicion that Giga might come into it, but like I was saying earlier, I would prefer to kind of try and keep a wee bit of consistency in the team where we can, in terms of building up partnerships and things like that. So I'd go with Suter still at the minute over Giga. Wouldn't surprise me if Giga comes in. Midfield would remain unchanged from the weekend. Raskin, Diamandi and Asgard. Kusama out on the left, and here's where I would make changes. I'd probably play Chermiti up front.
I agree.
If you're not going to play an £8 million player, or a player that costs you £8 million for this game, when are you going to play him? I think this game for Chermiti, Miovski probably for the weekend, and then out on the left, out on the right. Sorry, I'd bring Ant-Man back into the team. That's the team I would go for, and I'm going to go for 3-1 Rangers. Kusama first goal scorer.
Yeah, I agree with you. The team. I think your top line is exactly what I think you might go with. Chermiti's got to start somewhere. I agree. I think Livingston on that bloody plastic pitch on Sunday. Miovski's played there before. I'd be playing Miovski there. I've seen new players come to Ibrox before, and then they go to Livingston and don't have a clue how to play football. And I always remember Hollander on the parks, the way the ball bounced. It's a shock for some of these players. So, Miovski's played the Tony Macaroni Stadium or Arena, whatever it's called. So I think they might keep him for then. So, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with your midfield as well. Diamandi's usually better in European nights as well. Asgard's starting to perform for me now. I think he's going to be a good player for us. There's something about him in the back line. I agree with you. I think Giga might start though over Suter. It's interesting what you're saying about Suter and Cornelius in terms of trying to form a partnership going forward. The only thing with John Suter is his contract's up at the end of the season, and I mean you're potentially looking at all these centre halves, and I think Cornelius is an option to buy. Giga doesn't have an option, but John Suter, potentially next season we could look at 2 new centre halves again because none of them might not be there.
Yeah, well, we've said this before. We might be looking for a whole new defence next season.
No, I don't.
Because Tav's out his contract and Magoma's alone. So, right, so I'm more looking at it the fact, like you say, Cornelius, there is that option to buy. So,
yeah,
to me, it seems a wee bit more like that could probably happen, providing it doesn't. Tillman doesn't happen, and he decides he doesn't like the league and wants to progress elsewhere. That's the way I'm looking at it. And obviously, Suter's, because although he is out of contract, there's nothing to say that wouldn't be extended. But in any case, I'd probably be looking for a bit of an upgrade, like you constantly say.
Yeah, I just think Giga again. He's a player that's come up here. He's going to have to play games. So I could see Giga playing tomorrow night. Again, we'll need to rotate players at times. I like Giga when he just defends. When he's got the ball at his feet, he gives me the bloody fear. But when he's told us to defend, I think he's a good defender. So it'll be interesting to see who he plays tomorrow night. I just hope, I know it's slagging Mikey Moore because it feels that way, but I just hope I don't see Mikey Moore tomorrow night because he doesn't deserve to start the game for me. And I want to see Ant-Man in the right. I want to see Kusama and Ant-Man both in the wings with whoever it is through the middle, Chermiti or Miovski. That's what I want to see because I think we have good wingers with those two. I think they're dangerous wingers going forward, and I'd like to see that played more often going forward. So, yes, that is us. Kind of usually we do 45 minutes for a Club Deck Corner, Scotia, but we've kind of gone over it a wee bit. Friday night we'll be back with Club Live. Me and Mr. Gamer will not be on Club Live on Friday night, I don't think. It will be Mr. Carney will be back and Young Ross as well, so it'll be the two of them. Me and Scotia will be having a break on Friday. But yeah, I would like to thank everyone in the comments tonight for watching us, and also we are very, very close to 8,000 subscribers. I don't know how far away, but it's under 100 now, so it would be good to get there before the next, I'll say the next dreaded international break, Scotia, which I know is in October or something. It's quite soon again. I know Scotland have got a couple of games in that, but yes, my one and only guest tonight, Mr. Scott Gemmell, thanks for coming on, and I will see you on Thursday night.
Yeah, cheers, Ali. Cheers, everyone. Yes, hopefully be there on Thursday night. I'm hoping to get away from work a wee bit early so that I can get the train rather than having to drive. And there's loads of
On
traffic.
the
There's loads of
roadworks.
roadworks. There's loads of roadworks. I think there's roadworks at Hellington. There's roadworks at the Dumbuck Hotel. There's roadworks everywhere. So hopefully get away a wee bit earlier and get the train up.
Yeah, no, the roadworks at I work at Hillington. The roadworks at Hillington are an absolute pain in the arse. And it's 9 months we're going to be there for. I've actually never seen any work being done in that motorway yet since it's happened. And it's been shut for 2 weeks or something. But that's another podcast on its own. The roadworks and them. But yeah, no, as I say, thanks to everyone in the comments. Thanks for Scotia coming on. We have been Club at 22 Rangers podcast, and we will be back on Thursday with a post-match reaction. Good night.